Hi, everyone. Well, certainly a lot of us are feeling the pressure from the pandemic, and many are struggling with anxiety and even depression. So, to help us navigate these stressful times are Heather Gates. She is the president and CEO of Community Health Resources and active with many state and national advocacy organizations for behavioral health. Also, Coleen Dobo. She is the senior vice president of adult services at Community Health Resources. Many of you know it as CHR. She's also a psychologist and an expert in trauma. Welcome to both of you.
Good morning. Thank you.
We're happy to have you here. I think people who haven't even thought much about anxiety in the past are certainly thinking about it now, wondering if they have it. So, Colleen, I want to start with you and just the topic of managing stress. Does this rise to the level of trauma that we're going through right now, or is it just stress?
Well, I think that I would say that it's stress at this point. That for most people, the disruption that people are experiencing in their lives and the changes in the environment are really something that requires an adaptation, and that it's really hard for people to do that. Every thing that people have known to be their normal has been eliminated, and people are needing to create a new normal, and that's what a really stressful environment is about.
Right, and that's what we hear in so many other situations, and none of us have ever really been through something like this before. It's hard to get your balance, I would think, for some people. There's no routine. So what do you advise to deal and manage this stress right now?
So the first thing that I would say to people is that you're really not alone. I mean, a lot of people are experiencing the disruption and the stress that's going on, and that probably one of the best things that you can do is to try and create what your new normal is going to be going forward. So what that means is the things that you've had in your life that have given you a routine or a feeling of structure and aren't there anymore need to be replaced by something else that becomes predictable. So that would mean, keeping the same sleep cycle, which is very biologically rooted in something that people need to do. Keeping the same meal times would be really helpful for people. Focusing your energies on the things that you can control. So it may be, what you're having for dinner or what the kids are doing, rather than worrying about what might be happening, in a week from now or even 2 weeks from now.
And do you have any special advice to help people during this time of social distancing? A lot of people feel very alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so social distancing is kind of an unfortunate word in a way, that, having physical distance between people doesn't have to result in people feeling socially isolated. So there are a lot of different opportunities that people have to have a connection with other people, but we don't have the environment around us that creates that, so that when we go to work, we're automatically being around other people. We have to actually make that effort to do it, and so that means picking up the phone and calling someone, using the digital applications and social media that people have available, like Facebook. Is really using FaceTime so that people feel like they have a connection. So not to confuse social distancing with physical distance is really important.
Yeah, thankfully we do have all of these digital options. What about some creative tips to help people stay focused? Many of us are working at home and it's just not the same.
That's true. It really isn't the same. So I would say one thing that people can do is to really practice what we call mindfulness, and basically that's really just focusing on the task that's in front of us. So if you're working on stuff from work, is to really focus on what the task that you're doing and trying to put other things aside. Really, taking a walk outside and really focusing what it feels like to be out in the air and to have a nice day like today, to be able to do that, and trying to create an environment where you're removing some distractions. You may need to do that physically in your environment by having a period of time that is work time so that you're in an office-like environment that you can close the door, and then having other time that's for social time.
So, what about just maintaining our physical and mental health? You can't go to the gym anymore. I know we need that energy, just even for our serotonin levels, just to keep everything moving okay.
Absolutely, and again, I just would want to remind people of the opportunities to be able to do some of those same things at home. And some of the things that people miss about the gym is being amongst other people, say, who are doing the same activity. So, if you go on your on-demand channels or you go on YouTube, there are many opportunities for people to get a 15-minute workout that you're following a leader and you're doing it. And some of them are surprisingly very much similar to what's happening in the studio. And you feel more connected, like you're around other people while you're doing that.
Yeah, and I know some of the gyms out there where we go, the Mandel JCC in West Hartford, they've started live streaming workouts. I know a lot of yoga studios have done that. It's actually perhaps an opportunity for people to even get some free workouts if they start streaming in their own house. Not the same, but it still helps.
Absolutely.
So what is the difference between stress and an anxiety disorder?
So that's a really good question. So stress, which is a normal response to a challenging situation, basically is created by an external event around us, and it's our response to that. So there's very similar features between stress and anxiety. So with stress, the discomfort tends to resolve when the situation resolves. For anxiety, it more is related to your internal response to a stressor, so that it's your internal interpretation, your reaction to it. It can become a persistent feeling of heightened worry and heightened physiological response, and it doesn't resolve itself at the end of a stressor, so that it can continue on. And that's when you know that that there's a reaction happening that needs to have some really focused attention to it, like using some breathing techniques, a meditation app, and don't be afraid to reach out and get help. I mean, reaching out for assistance with mental health issues. It's much like if you were coming down with bronchitis or something like that, and you call your doctor. And for mental health issues, it really should be the same. Where if you're experiencing some symptoms like anxiety, it should be okay. It needs to be okay for people to call and talk with somebody, because it really helps.
Right, and we're going to, in a little bit, if you're just joining us on the feed, I want to let everyone know we're talking about managing stress, anxiety, even depression in these times of pandemic. I'm here with some experts from CHR, which is Community Health Resource, and if you stay with us, we're going to talk about even how you could get a telehealth appointment if you're struggling with this. What about binging on alcohol, sweets? Is this a time where we need to be cautious about overindulging?
It is a time that we need to do that. There are a lot of people, or some people, who turn to alcohol in times of stress because, in fact, it works. I mean, it helps people to feel less anxious. It helps people to feel relaxed. The problem is when the stressor persists and you continue to do that, then it can become a problem in and of itself. And any coping skill that people use that is maladaptive can turn into a problem that's sort of like then becomes autonomous in itself and needs to be dealt with. So, it's okay to do things that are nurturing yourself and that you feel a sense of comfort from. But if you overdo it and you find that you're craving to overdo it or you want to overdo it, then it's really a good time to switch to another type of activity that could be helpful.
Jason Pelletier joined the feed, and he's suggesting go outside, walk your dog, enjoy outdoor spring cleaning. Nature really can help, right? There's a lot of research that getting out in nature can help us.
Absolutely, and just the idea of exercise and being outside, the endorphins that creates can really create a calming effect. So it's almost like a biological tonic for people who are feeling a lot of anxiety, is being able to be outside. And I would also say that not to underestimate the feeling of social connection that people can get from just doing the same activity that other people are doing, even if it's with strangers. So you're out taking a walk, and across the street you see a neighbor or someone who's coming the other way, and you just wave. Just that feeling of connection can be really helpful. So being outside, and that's a great time to practice mindfulness, so that you're really thinking about what it feels like to be walking, the sounds that you hear, the birds are singing. So this is really a good time to do that.
And for those who've heard mindfulness and maybe haven't practiced or don't know what it is, but it's really about some exercises to be in the moment. And I know that there's a lot of great apps. People can even do a 5-minute guided meditation, or just counting your steps as you walk and feel your feet on the ground as you walk outside. That could be a simple exercise for people.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you brought up the meditation apps, because there's a lot of them out there now that people can go to that are really, and the breathing apps that come up on people's phones that tend to be an annoyance sometimes when you're not ready to do that. But this is a good time where just following that, it makes a physiological difference. So it's intervening in the physiology of the stress response.
We can't underestimate how we are equipped to take that deep breath, and it can really cause a change in our body. I want to shift over. now, and if we can speak to Heather now. Thank you for being with us again. If you're just joining us, Heather Gates is the president and CEO of Community Health Resources, and she is joining us now to talk about what if you do need some treatment. Is telehealth an option for people right now, Heather?
Absolutely, and I have to give credit to all of our staff, our IT department, of course, as well as our therapists and our medical staff, our medical assistants, our front desk staff, our clinical supervisors. I mean, this has been a massive effort to help our organization go from 100% face-to-face work in our outpatient clinics and with many of our community-based programs to operating almost 100% using telehealth in a 2-week period of time. So what that meant is that we had to put in place the equipment, the interface with our electronic health record, the scheduling, the way to access that in an incredibly short period of time, and that was only possible because of the work of so many people here in the organization and CHR who are dedicated to the work we're doing.
Right.
And so you can now access our services in the exact same way that you would have otherwise by calling our assessment center, and they can talk to you about what you might need help with and help get you scheduled into an appointment.
For some, they might think I'm for some people, they might think I'm tech challenged. Is it easy to have a telehealth appointment?
It is easy, and I'm someone who would definitely consider myself technologically challenged, but I'm amazed at what I've been able to learn how to do in a very short period of time. We have some of our staff calling our clients and helping them figure out how to get set up so that they are not afraid of using it, and we try and reassure them that it is confidential. That it is a technology that can be used as long as you have a cell phone, an iPad, a computer, anything where you can interface with someone on a screen. We are also doing telephonic support, which is something that can help for those folks who may not have all of the technology but do have a phone.
So that's just a phone. So sometimes even calling a therapist can help if perhaps you're older, you don't know how to use this stuff, or you don't have access to anything like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're really helping the individuals we're serving currently get set up with all of that, as well as making sure that all of our staff have that technology. We were fortunate that we were already working on putting this in place, but we had to accelerate that very quickly, and then helping our clients understand how to use it, because we do work with some individuals who have some fairly substantial needs. And it was important to us that we maintain that connection to them during this very challenging time.
And it's
but we are also able to start, oops, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, it's so great that this is, necessity is the mother of all invention, but there's some real benefits to telehealth, right? For some folks, it might actually be better for them to be talking from home. Maybe they feel safer or better.
Absolutely, because sometimes people have transportation challenges. Getting into our offices may be hard, so this would make our services, in fact, more accessible than they have been if you had to come in to do a face-to-face meeting with your therapist or a medical staff person. And in some, I think particularly now, our clients and really all of us are going to feel safer in settings where we feel like we know what's going on, we feel that it's more contained, and yet they're still able to access care by using telehealth or telephonic treatment. So it makes access incredibly easy across the board, and we're just really pleased that we've been able to put this in place so quickly so that our communities and the people we're serving do not have to be out there alone without access to really needed behavioral health treatment right now.
So just before we let you go, if you're on the feed and people are wondering, I think I might want to make a telehealth appointment, how do you do that?
Yep. The best way to do that is call our assessment center, and that number is 1-877-884-3571. Again, it's 1-877-884-3571.
And I imagine your website is also a great resource for folks?
Absolutely, and that's www.chrhealth.org.
Great. So all of you who are online and listening, there is help out there. I know that all of us have had to learn how to do new things very quickly, but perhaps as a final thought, do you think there's some benefits to this that will even last beyond the coronavirus crisis?
Well, we'll certainly continue to use telehealth when it's hard for folks to get to us. Otherwise, the state of Connecticut was moving in that direction anyway, so we are hopeful that that will continue and that we'll build on this momentum, and then really figure out what's a good combination of face-to-face and telehealth, because there are some who still prefer the face-to-face,
Yeah.
but there are many who will now be able to take advantage of this even after this crisis is over.
Certainly an opportunity for growth for your organization, for a lot of people out there. I want to thank Heather Gates and Coleen Dobo for being with us. If you chimed in late on the feed, you can always go back and watch us in entirety. I know you gave some great advice about managing anxiety and how to know the difference if you need help. So I appreciate both of you being here with us today.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.